night and day through April, May, June, and July around Alçıtepe in Seddülbahir region and in Arıburnu. Neither the Turkish side could dispel the enemy, nor could the enemy advance. The floating castles and warplanes of the British would not leave the Turks alone. On the night of May 14, 1915, the Turkish torpedo boat Muavenet-i Milliye, commanded by the German officer Rudolf, approached the British warship Goliath, which was anchored in Morto Bay. They fired 2 torpedoes and quickly ran away. Soon, a great explosion lit the darkness, and the Goliath sank with its 570 personnel within minutes. On May 19th, before dawn, the Turks launched an attack to dispel the enemy. There were several students of Istanbul University among the thousands of martyrs. On May 25th, the British warship Triumph was patrolling the area between Kabatepe and Arıburnu, prepared for attacks from land and sending showers of fire to the Turkish trenches. A torpedo from a German U-21 submarine buried the Triumph in the strait. On May 27th, the U-21 submarine, which made surprise attacks, caught the warship Majestic, a steel castle which was giving the Turkish side a hard time on the way to join the battle. London and Paris were really irritated. They could not manage to advance for months, and their losses were increasing. The British General Ian Hamilton had a final plan: disembark on Suvla Bay and take over Anafartalar. On August 7th, 1915, before dawn, the British Anzac Army, strengthened by new soldiers, began disembarking on Suvla Bay with the support of naval artillery from the sea and British planes from the air. There were tired fighters before the British troops, proceeding both in Arıburnu and Suvla. The British also used poisonous gas against the Turkish troops. When Churchill was reminded that it was a shame for humanity, he replied that the Turks were not considered human. The British artillery was erupting death on the Turkish trenches. There were pieces of human bodies flying in the air. War was like a mill, grinding people. Every explosion was a tragic event to make those who missed the young man in the front cry. Do we know what it means to wait for a husband or a father ever to return, or a beloved son you miss so much, missing them for a lifetime? It was a time when the Turkish troops were withdrawing. The British were climbing Jonkbayırı, and the end of the war was near. In the same places, the distance between the trenches was as close as 8 meters. Death was certain. What a devotion it was! What a reliance on God! Those who could were reading the Quran, and those who couldn't were praying and waiting for death. On May 10th, Anafartalar Region's commander, Mustafa Kemal, started the general attack, saying, "I'm not ordering you to charge. I'm ordering you to die." The attack started at a time when there didn't seem any hope of defense. The soldiers had seen their friends die a few minutes ago. They knew that they too would die in spite of everything. They were running to their death, to paradise, to martyrs. Before such faith and determination, the British soldiers were about to give up. The victory belonged to the Turks. After that, the British tried a few attacks, all of which failed. Finally, the British Ministry of War yielded, and they decided to prepare for withdrawal beginning in the fall. When the last British ship left Seddülbahir on January 9th, 1916, There was a great enthusiasm from Turks. The loss of the British and French allied forces, including the captives and the wounded, was more than 250,000, and that of the Turkish side close to 250,000 in total. It should be noted that those who joined the army as volunteers had no written record, and they are not included in this number. As a British general stated, the greatest damage the British made at the Dardanelles was martyring lots of learned young Turkish men. It was a great loss for the future of Turkey. The nation, which longed for a victory, had restored its confidence. The confidence which would inspire people. The determination they needed for the war of independence was gained. The nation recognized the commanders who carried them to victory in the Dardanelles, Mustafa Kemal being the first. As for the commanders, the Dardanelles was an important experience for them. The people of Anatolia had seen what they could do when they gathered together for a common purpose. The Russian Empire, which had lasted for a few centuries, collapsed, and the way for the freedom of Central Asian republics was open. Captive nations witnessed the British and the French, which were thought to be invincible, flee, and they gained confidence for a war of independence. We wish that the victory of Dardanelles will not be forgotten.